Reed here. How's it going, guys? I'm gonna give a few minutes to let at least one person come on in. Okay, guys, I'm going to introduce a very interesting concept to you. So, this series is about Tupac was an actor, right? Not a gangster. And I was trying to help my audience, particularly my patients and other people who's interested, to sort of understand this concept of your higher self and your lower self, right? And let me just give you an overview. The lower self is created by the physical mind of your brain. And then your higher self is sort of created when you sort of get rid of your ego and start to look at things from a higher perspective, right? And so these are like two different brains. It's a switching mechanism. In the last video, Tupac was an actor. We showed how he was using his higher brain. And so he has empathy, he has access to that. And when he was damaged and traumatized, he descended and began exclusively using his lower brain. And this is a very inferior brain to use. This is the Atari brain, and this is the super AI. The Atari brain, super AI. And so Tupac had both, right? All of us have this, all of this, we're born with this one, but then we sort of grow and then sort of be able to use this one, right? This higher self, right? Now, Tupac thought everybody was like this, right? Just like most of us with empathy. But no, it's really like this, right? He's around people who only have access to lower selves. That's why all the people around them locked him into his lower self. And as long as he was locked into his lower self, they can control him. You got me? So you have two selves, your lower self, which is made by this physical brain. And can you imagine with someone who has brain damage? If they have brain damage, that damaged brain is going to create the world, right? And that world is going to be their reality. It's not going to be yours. And you wouldn't want to be in that reality. So you can understand that when you're at your lower selves, everybody's reality is unique. And it's exclusively theirs. And what's interesting about the properties of the people who exist in the lower selves, they have no awareness that your reality is there. They think it's only theirs, right? That's the problem. That's the problem. So let me just go back for it. Okay. You are watching me right now. And I'm Dr. Reed. Hello. I'm in your environment. I'm in your reality. Why? Because I'm talking to you. I'm in your reality. Now, everybody have their own reality. But 99.9% of the people do not understand or are incapable of perceiving anything outside of their reality. That's why they never consider your opinion in anything. That's why you don't mean anything to them, right? So Tupac had access to his higher self and his lower self, right? Right? But the people here around only had access to your lower self, and they had no idea what he was talking about when he was talking about all the things that were hopeful and things. And so you saw a transition in this music. You start to see it become darker, denser. Where was the hope? Right? Where was the hope? Remember troublesome niggas? Troublesome. Man, it's a cut, but troublesome? You don't want to play troublesome anywhere because trouble's going to arrive. It's going to come knocking at your door. Play troublesome niggas. Blast it and see what happens. Right? It changes your energy. Women don't like that troublesome. You know, I was with a bunch of dudes and stuff like that. But you know what? You play around a bunch of dudes playing troublesome fun. You know, there's like... it's a production of his lower self. And so the song has duality and karma embedded in it. Right? So he's surrounded about everyone who's in darkness. Why? Because they can only see what their ego is presenting to themselves. They can only see their reality, and there's nothing else outside of it. They do not have the capacity to look outside of their reality. It's nothing. So that's why he couldn't understand why the people around him behaved the way they behaved. In a previous video, go back and look at part 2, he described, why did they do this? Or why did they do that? They shouldn't have did that. They shouldn't do that. Yes, they can, man. Yes, they can. They can do what they want. You're the one with the problem. You're under delusion. You believe everybody's like you when you are by yourself. I mean, listen. I mean, he was such, I'm going to show you in the next video, part 4, I'm planning, he was such a significant figure. I'm going to show you how the darkness captured Tupac intentionally. And it extracted all the potential wealth that he was going to get from him. He was no different than Michael Jackson. And how when they targeted him, they eventually extracted his wealth, and all of them are billionaires on it right now. Man, this game gets cold. This get cold. Jesus said, you're not fighting against flesh and blood. You're fighting against power and principalities and high places. And I'm going to show you exactly how the forces of darkness came for Tupac. You better watch your back too. These things are after you. But let me show you Tupac first. Because if I help you understand Tupac's, the danger he's in, I'll help you understand the danger you're in. Why? Time's up. The singularity is here. The information age is here. The AI is here. There's going to be mass unemployment, depopulation. It's going to be huge changes, huge changes. And how are you going to survive when they're coming at you like this? Man, the game is cold. 5D warfare. Everybody's trying to control your ego. And this is exactly what they did to him. Man, they stripped him of his inner self. They robbed him of his core inner self. And he only existed and began to express himself outside the world of his lower self. Why? Because that's the best way they can handle him. Best way. And he left behind billions that everybody took after him. But let me go through this duality and karma. While he's locked in that lower cells, there's a governance system at the bottom, right? You have to make sure it just doesn't get out of control. The population manages itself. The population manages itself through two things. The first is called duality, and the second is called karma, meaning anything you do as your lower self is going to be reabsorbed into the environment. And at the end of the day, your footprint will be zero. So all the outward expressions that Tupac began to do in that lower self environment ultimately echoed back and came in like a tsunami, and it removed him from the environment. He didn't understand where he was at. He didn't understand what he was doing. That's the concept of duality, meaning what goes up must come down. If there's a left, there must be a right. If there's an in, there must be an out, right? If there's a hot, there must be a cold. If there's a soft, there must be a hard. If there's love, there must be hate. If there are tears, there must be joy, right? Everything around you is duality. And you can't escape it. You can't escape it at all. And that's the thing he didn't understand. When you're down in your lower self in that land of the primitive, it regulates itself. You reap what you sow. If you live by the sword, you die by the sword. And those are the rules. That's code, right? So in that unconscious territory where he's dealing with nobody, all the people are not like him. None of them are like him. And now he's traumatized and he's pushing these things out into the environment. He's pushing these things out and he's pushing things out in the environment. And what happened? They came back. They came back. And what happened? He experienced the karma associated with that. He experienced the things that he broadcast out in his music. And someone around him should have helped him understand that that wasn't the best thing to do. As gifted and as talented as you are, you should be thinking about doing things better than denigrating and threatening people in your records. I mean, so much gifted and talent that was wasted because he can only access those at his higher self. But when he descended into his lower self, he could only do what he did. He was severely traumatized. So what's interesting in this world that he was in as his lower self, he could see the duality that went back and forth, right? But he didn't understand it. Make sense? You see. I think that's all I wanted to say for now. And I'm going to continue my series on, I had a few more points to say about this. Yeah, I had a few more points to say about this. So what goes up must come down. That's the issue called duality. And that's something you always have to remember. But what Tupac experienced was he experienced a degree of karma that to me seems to be significant. So for example, Tupac, let's go to the Tupac video of him fighting in the, Tupac's fighting in Vegas. Is this it right here? Let's see. And then let's look at this.
And your mom's shoe closet was a world of characters waiting to be stepped into. And then one day,
I didn't know we were going to play a whole commercial. Oh, that's the whole commercial. So I think, is that him right there? I think it's coming. So here's the point. Here's the reason why it's important for me to bring up this video. Okay, gangsters don't do that, right? Gangsters typically hide in the bushes and shoot you in the back or something like that, or sneak up on you, or do a drive-by or something like that. But when the gangster puts in his or her work, they don't want to be seen. They put a lot of effort into not being seen, However, you see the video in Tupac, and when he goes out to play a role as a gangster, he plays a role similar to the gangsters that you see on television, right? The center of attention, smacking people around and things like that. And that's the gangster role he's playing in the movies, right? Right. All right. So he's in the movie. He's definitely in the movie. He's in a delusional system, right? So in the movies, the gangster is the one doing all that, but in real life, they're the ones hiding in the bushes and pow, and then running in the middle of darkness, and they're the one quiet and things like that. And they're certainly not going to do that on camera. And certainly the gangster's not going to do their work on camera, right? But Tupac believes he's a gangster because he's locked in his lower self in his role as Tupac the gangster, and he's doing what he's seen, what he saw gangsters do on television, but he's doing in real life. And he doesn't understand the concept of duality and karma when he's locked in his lower self, engaging with clusters of unconscious people. He doesn't understand the consequences of that. And so he engages in this duality, right? He engages in this open display of stomping someone and things like that. And he has no idea about how karma works, particularly with these unconscious people. Now, see, the reason why these people are unconscious is because they can't see outside their ego, meaning they have their perspective and they cannot see your perspective because the machinery doesn't allow them to see your perspective. They don't have those upgrades. So they can only see their perspective, right? Okay, so these people have a tendency to exist in the same reality as the same animals in the Serengeti, the lions, right? So they have a certain type of thought process, a thought pattern that you need to pay attention to. They have like an action and a reaction, action and reaction, which is instinct. That's what animals do, right? Now, Tupac thinks that they're more developed like him. So he thinks they're going to have an action, then a thought, and then an action. So Tupac thinks that reality is that this is going to happen. The man is going to think about it, then he's going to react. Right? Tupac thinks he's in his reality. Even though Tupac descended to the lower self, he thinks the rules, he doesn't know the rules changed when he's descending down there into this land of unconscious people. Right? These unconscious people are action reaction, just like the animals, action reaction. So when Tupac did this, he got a response right away. He got a response right away. He was unalive before he made it home. He was unalive before he made it home. And and I believe this is the event that simply did it. I don't think it was more complicated than that. I think that if you deal with one of these unconscious people this way, if you stomp them down in the middle of everybody, they're going to come back strong. And when they come back, they're going to come back biblical. I mean, it's going to be right. They're going to hit back. And when they hit you, you're never going to see where it's coming. Why? Because they're primitive. They're primitive. And look, there's further evidence that Tupac really was in a delusion and that he was believing that he was the character, because just like when he saw all of the gangster movies, when the gangster ripped out his shirt and began to stomp him down and everything, and he said he's going to say, he exited the scene, he jumped in the car, and then he drove off to the sunset. They drive off to the sunset in every movie, just like Tupac did. And you saw the picture. He's unconcerned. He's unconcerned. He has no idea that these unconscious people are going to get back instantly. He didn't even make it home. So I think he played the wrong hand in the wrong environment. In the wrong environment. And after his death, let me just tell you everything he's lost. Tupac was supposed to have been one of the greatest performers of all time. I mean, he was one of the best. Why? Because this was the beginning of social media. It was the he was the forerunner to all the billions that the other rappers would make, right? And he not only was in the area of music, but he was also in the area of acting, right? And in the area of acting, look what happened with his relationship with Jada, right? Jada preferred Tupac over Will. And the reason why I believe Jada and Will are both unconscious. They're just two different type of narcs, right? Jada is the outwardly aggressive one, and Will is the nice, passive one, and things like that. So they're unconscious. But remember, Tupac had this configuration. Tupac has something else. Tupac had access to his higher self at some point, and he had empathy that can constantly feed Jada. So Jada was satisfied with just being his sidekick, because the energy he was giving her was more than she can get anywhere. Whereas Will had to pay for everything he got. He had to pay for everything he got. And Will still have to pay. He still have to pay. Why? Because he's unconscious, right? He's unconscious. And she's charging him, and she's trapping him. And Will Smith is going to have to pay another person for the rest of his life for everything he's done. He's going to have to be attached to this person for the rest of his life. So here, just watch this. Very unfortunate. It's unfortunate that, you see, when you get surrounded by these people, you have a tendency to do things like this, and they watch you. They set you up for it. They watch you. They encourage you. So look at him now. Look, character. So this is him. So this is the gangster movie. This is a gangster movie, right? And he's in role, right? Man, you at the Mike Tyson fight, man. You bring a whole crowd of people with you through the MGM like this, Tupac? Characterological, right? Lower self. And look who's behind him, instigating them. My next video is going to be about Tupac, the saint, but who's captured between two psychopaths. The first one, we hit the New York scene with Puffy, the first psychopath who tried to kill him and tried to unalive him. And then when he flew to South California, the second psychopath, that man here. Darkness. I mean, there's no way Tupac was going to survive with that empathy when everywhere he turned, just like Michael Jackson, there was another one of them. And look, right there is very important. I'm going to ask you to make sure you record everything, because at your worst moments, who's right there with you? At your worst moment, who's with you? And then they're there to make sure nobody stops you. They're not there to help you. He's there to make sure nobody stops you. Look, and this is just unnecessary. Look, it's just unnecessary. It's just unnecessary. Listen, that was his final role. the gangster walking through the gangster walking through the casino, his final role. And look at this. Let's see. Okay, let me go to Grok here, okay? So I'm going to so he's doing a performance. He's not a real gangster. So this flamboyant type of style was simply a performance. But when it's done now with our mobile phones, we call it social media. Right? Now, let me try now. So Tupac was the progenitor that was the beginning of social media. And had he had the right producers, the right support, they could have made this in a theatrical manner so that everybody's getting paid for it, and you don't have to risk your life, and you still get the views and things like that. I think that's not happening now, but after him and his theatric, then Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton began her career, right? And she began her career basically doing all the things that Tupac was doing, right? She was a rich white girl getting in trouble with the law, going here and there, talking shit, all that, doing everything. She was doing it. But the difference between her and Tupac, after they took Tupac's antics and then put them and start putting microphones and cameras around them. And this was the beginning of social media. So after Paris, then you had, after Paris, then you have Kim. Just put a name. Look, you just put in Kim. And what? Billionaire. So had Tupac had the right people around him, they could have said, okay, the gangster, let's just back off from the gangster, and then let's try and get you another role as a poet, and you're going to have to seriously make him cry. I mean, boy, you're going to have to hurt him, but you're going to have to see, I would say the rap boys over there, Biggie did steal your style. Biggie stole your style. Then you had to go over there. So you come up with a poetic form using your iambic pentameter and stuff like that. We just going to go into poetry and hang out here until that cools down. But then when we go back, we just going to stage it all and record it all. And we're going to let you stomp them out like a real gangster, right? But it's going to be a production just like it is now. It's not going to be the real thing. You can stomp them out as much as you want, as long as you want, as long as everybody got a contract and everybody getting paid, man. It's just how the money works, right? And then he would have been billionaire over. Tupac would have been the richest entertainer ever had they staged all of his drama. But they saw the potential of it and they took it for themselves. So here you have Paris Hilton seeing the same thing and putting the production's calf of it, and that leads to Kim. But let me search this, and then let me see what is the value of social media? Like how much can you provide an estimate on how much value social media has? I think I'll be off the hook. Oh, 1.3 trillion. 1.3 trillion. That's why the man is not alive. That was just the style he was producing, the flamboyance. All he needed to have was it produced, it's staged, that's it. Then Paris Hilton never would have happened. Kim Kardashian never would have happened. we would have been down a different timeline. These people around him have us living in this reality that we should have been living in. Tupac should have embellished that social media, and we should have been in that direction as Tupac as the king, right? Not as Jay-Z. Hold on. That's another thing. But look, Tupac should have been the leading social media stars, right? Now, there's a new form of social media. Look, globally, 2 to 3 trillion with annual revenues of 350 billion, right? Look, the societal and cultural impact, right? Let me see here. Now, there's a new form, the newest form of social media is called in real life. Well, basically, that's Tupac was doing in real life. He was doing in real life. What is the value of the in real life, which is taking over now. Now streaming, the rappers are losing money because no one's going to the concerts, particularly the drill rappers. So they're fighting with the streamers. The TikTok girl, the video girls or whatever those sites they are and everything. Nobody's going, they doing in real life. The streamers, you got the streamers supporting football leagues and things like that. Look, projects to reach 70 to 100 billion by 2025. Live streaming. 30 billion annually. Let me see here. So look at this. So with the social media part, 2 to 3 trillion globally, economic value, okay, here, 100 billion, 30 billion and 100 billion by 25. Okay, we got that. Okay, and this is getting really there. Okay. Now here, look, we're living in an alternate reality, guys. We really are. We don't supposed to be in this reality. Okay, so here, let me just, what I'm trying to see here. Okay, I'm gonna go search, just Google. Okay, just for pictures of Jay-Z. Okay, let me just show you something, right? Okay, so that's okay, images. That's good. Okay. Let me try and go back. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. See, it's that this Tupac with Jasmine guy. You don't see Diddy and you don't see Jay-Z and or even Will with women showing him this degree of affection and attention, right? It's very interesting to see that. But let me just say, let me just show you here what I'm trying to look at. I'm trying to compare Jay-Z and Tupac, right? Okay, here's why I think this is important. Okay, Tupac was a saint with empathy who was surrounded by a bunch of sociopaths. And when he got trapped in his lower self, he was unalived because of his activities and there, and it changed things. So he was supposed to have gone on living, and he was supposed to have gotten together with the world's best female star. But because he was off, then Jay-Z became one with married to Beyonce, and now these two just controlled everything, right? It was a coup, right? Whoever was going to get to that top, they were going to win the prize. And the prize was the most beautiful and most talented woman around. I mean, isn't that? Listen, this is a classic love story at the core of it. You have a talented saint with all of these gifts and everything doing his craft, and then you have the envious ones who pursue him and target him and set it up to remove him and then gain access to all the wealth and the resources that he created. So Jay-Z benefited from his death because he was the one to get the prize. And I grew up through the Jay-Z era. I mean, I think some of the stuff was really good, but I don't think that it should have gotten him to a billionaire status. I don't think Jay-Z's music is significant enough to get to the billionaire status. Right? I think that this was like a hit. In addition to this, I think that Will Smith and Jada wouldn't have been together if he would have been alive. Right? If he would have been alive, then I think Jada would have definitely wanted to continue to gain access to Tupac's higher self. I think Tupac would have done better with Beyonce and that team, or with Madonna and that team, than with Suge Knight and Snoop Dogg in California. His decision to go there cost him. He probably should have gone to Europe, and he should have done it from there, since he was trying to escape California. So I think that's all I wanted to say for today. So in this series, Tupac is an actor. I'm going to things like that, and I appreciate someone who is so gifted and talented as an artist as he was, you know. But I feel saddened when I see that he's recognized for such a very narrow, damaged part of him. There's something freakish about this society. There's something freakish about this society always denigrating our heroes, right? We can only look at him through his character, not as the actor he was, right? Just like only being able to look at Tom Cruise through Mission Impossible, through the Top Gun character, and I look at his accent. You know, Tom Cruise gets the appreciation of being an actor, right? Not always being judged by his character, and it's just so awful that this happened to him, you know. And the amount of wealth that was stolen from his family is enormous. It's enormous what was stolen from his family, you know, billions, you know. I think had he gotten the right support or help, he could have gone on to just be a very transformative figure as a human with a soul, and not denigrated as a thug, right? Tupac is portrayed as a thug, and he was so instrumental in creating all the things that liberate us right now. Social media um, um, is what Mark Zuckerberg simply put on a website, on a web page. So Tupac created the demand, the narrative, the things, the dramatic code, and all Mark did, Zuckerberg did, was just put it on a website and they just name it social media. So I would say Tupac's contribution, even the thread even goes over there to Mark Zuckerberg and what they did. They just put the whole thing on the web page. So I think that's all I want to say here. Um, I saw his um, I saw his mannequin. Let me show you this. I don't know what I don't know how to feel. I don't know what to feel about this. Okay, Tupac. Uh, yeah, Tupac's. What is that wax model? New York. Yeah. So this is what I'm talking about here, right? This is what I'm talking about here. You know, this is Madame Trousseau, right? Um, all of the imaging of Tupac presents him as a thug, right? It doesn't present him as an artist, right? Let me look at Tom Cruise. MAD. Is that Madame Trousseau? Truss? I don't even know. This is wax. Okay, model New York. Oh, okay. Did I get okay? Okay, Madame Trousseau. Let me go here. Okay, do they have like some of the images up here? Okay, let me. Okay, let me images. Okay, so this is this one. Come on now, I'm not the only one in the room. I'm not the only one in the room now. I'm not the only one in the room. So they portrayed him as an actor, a dignified actor. They didn't portray him as the character in Mission Impossible. You see what I'm saying? But it's awful. It's awful that they portray him as a thug when he played many characters. He was also an actor too. He played many characters and stuff like that. So they put him down in his role, and that further tells me that the people around him, this is their efforts to sort of cover up exactly what they did. Because basically, Jay-Z, and again, remember, after he died, East Coast, West Coast, everybody just moved on the West Coast and started making money together. They started making money together and then perpetuate this role that dehumanizes him after they stole all your money. After they stole, this is not, Tupac did not create generational wealth. This was dynastic wealth. And it spread through everybody else who came after him. Jay-Z took over the title, not because he was the best, but because the man was unalived. And because he got to the top, he got the best girl. What? They locked it down together and they moved to California and took over the game. Right? And now they're branching out to everywhere. That's just the rap thread. His antics and behaviors was the beginning of social media. That Paris Hilton, then Kim Kardashian, and then now we have the in real life and all the streamers. That whole thread was from his, yeah, and just the other impact that he's had on so many other people around his life because he had the empathy. And I think that's all I want to say for now, and I think that's enough for me today. So again, in this series, Tupac was an actor. We're going to talk about, we talked about duality and karma. That is that if you lock down there in your lower self, everything you do is accounted for. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. And everything you do down there has a price. So you have to be very careful exactly what you do. And so I think Tupac didn't understand that. And that's one of the reasons why he's not around today. So, hey, I hope you enjoyed my presentation on Tupac Was an Actor Part 3. And I'm working on Part 4. Part 4 is going to be Tupac Was an Actor Caught Between Two Psychopaths, Diddy and the Part 5 is that Tupac and Michael Jackson are one and the same. Both of them were unalived systematically by the forces of darkness around them. And these forces of darkness are living good off of their booty, right? And so Tupac was an actor. I'll talk to you guys later. Take care, guys.